You're listening to Inclusive AF with Jackye Clayton and Katee Van Horn.
I think, should we start off by starting to play music? Because we did just say we're going to talk about something. I feel like we need like a theme song, a different theme song than the dun dun dun, the jazzy tune to Inclusive AF.
You want to
Are
go,
they
let's
singing
go,
like that?
girls. Can we do that? Let's go.
No, like I'm more thinking like Thunderdome. What was that song by Tina Turner, Thunderdome?
You were not thinking about Shania Twain and Man, I Feel
No,
Like a Woman.
no, I am not thinking about those things.
Well, good thing there's only two genders.
Oh,
Hi, welcome to the Inclusive AF podcast. This is Jackye Clayton.
and this is January 22nd, 2025. So here we go, people.
For
The
one,
the
both of us
first night
are,
of the purge, or no, we're on the second night of the purge, feel like, right?
listen, I'll tell y'all what,
Tell me,
this is
Jack.
not going to be good. This is not going well. The world is in a crazy place.
So, listeners, I just want to let you know what happened right before we started recording. Jackye just asked me the most important question she's ever asked me before about this podcast. And she said, can we please lift the no cussing ban we have between ourselves? It's more of a, I wouldn't say it's a ban. It's we made a decision
That's right.
as a partnership to not cuss.
That's right.
And sometimes it happens, but very rarely that we have to use very distinctive words, but we may have to pull off the blinders. So if
That's
you are someone that is not prepared for what's about to happen, there will be cussing. And I am going to say I apologize to all of my sweet HR humans that I love and adore. Jackie's apologizing as well because she's shaking her head yes. If you can't see it because you're only listening, she agrees with me wholeheartedly that the ban on cussing is unbanned. And the reason why we're unbanning the ban, Jackye,
This is some fucking bullshit.
there you go. Done. So, cat's out of the bag, kids. Jackye and I cuss. For
Listen,
those,
I think that most people, we all knew that we were getting a new president, and all of us were fine and ready for that to happen. I don't think that we were, I don't know, I'm not going to say we weren't. We were just hoping that it wasn't going to happen on day one, or that people would be more open to like what we need to do before that, but that just didn't happen.
you hoped that there wouldn't be what count are we at right now for the executive orders? Like
God,
100, right?
it's like a million.
It's not a million. How many is it, Jacqueline?
Okay, hold on. It's
It's
like,
a lot. A lot of executive orders have been signed in the last 48 hours. Um,
yes.
none of which are about helping people or doing
Come
anything.
on, are downright against the Constitution. The things that we have is birthrights, right? The end of the right to citizenship by birth. Federal workers are being forced back to office. TikTok got a reprieve. And how did that get on the list? Like civil rights, and then, oh yeah, and you can use TikTok. Like,
Especially when he was like, I hate TikTok. That's
he started that, and the showmanship, somebody called it kabuki theater of what he's doing right now. And I
right.
think that is one of those things. We're pulling from the climate
Paris
agreement.
Climate Agreement. Yes.
We're pulling out from the rioters, including the ones with violence, have all been pardoned,
Yep. We want to pardon everyone that attacked the Capitol for sure.
including those convicted of assaulting law enforcement officers.
There's no more birthright citizenship.
World Health Organization, we've withdrawn from the World Health Organization. denying of civil rights for federal contractors, all of it. Everybody who did DEI work are on paid leave right now.
Gulf of America.
I'm not mad about the Gulf of America.
That one might be my favorite one from just
One,
of the thing. Like on day one, you're like,
are
you know
you
what I really need
serious
to
right
do as
now? Like,
president on day one?
I thought he was going to give us all money, y'all. Like, where nothing that he said, oh, we're going to drill. They took away the mandate because we don't, even though the world is literally on fire, we are not worried about that.
No.
It's hard to tell which ones will have immediate impact, but there are, I said millions, there's dozens. Somebody has called them to call, they said there has been a lot, but to be clear, it is short of the days of thunder that he had promised that led up to inauguration day. So even though he said he was going to enact tariffs as high as 100%, that hasn't happened. They're doing some research. China apparently were best friends and they were at the inauguration.
Um, so
And
I want to just tell you the ones that are, so we are rescinding the Executive Order 13985, which is about advancing racial equity and support for underserved communities throughout the federal government. We are revoking Executive Order 13988 of preventing and combating discrimination on the basis of gender identity or sexual orientation. We're rescinding the order of 13989, ethics commitments by executive branch personnel, because we don't want them to be ethical. We are rescinding order 13990, protecting public health and the environment and restoring science to tackle the climate crisis. Like, if you look at these
are
executive
you
orders,
serious right now? Like, I can't.
we are rescinding Executive Order 13993, revision of civil immigration enforcement policies and priorities. It's like we're rescinding all the COVID pandemic testing, World Health Organization recommendations, all of these things. Um, any access to care for COVID-19, getting rid of that. We're getting rid of all protections against worker health and safety. Um,
And you know what we're going to have to do, Katie? And no lie to all of our listeners and our millions of fans. We are going to have to this year, where most of it is unscripted and going back when it's just a little bit of banter, is really going to have to be a source of truth and really look and dig into what of these things are that are going on. And more specifically, things that do deal with people's rights, infringing on people's rights, and then also a little dash of Texas and Arizona so we can figure out what's going on and tell people where they can start doing research in the places where they live. Because there's going to be a lot of I'm not kidding. Everyone was talking about like who was at the inauguration, the like how much money was donated for the inauguration. All of the corporations were on the inauguration. Nobody was talking about how rights were being revoked, literal rights were being repealed, and that people were being sent home from work. No one.
the the that's the part that scares me, is that like I'm like, how, I just said to you, how many orders, if you go to the White House and you scroll and you scroll and you scroll and you scroll, and and so many of these things are really about like, how are we going to damage the nation more by drilling in places we shouldn't be? We're going to harm underserved communities more. We're going to make sure that COVID-19 kills more people. We're going to make sure that we don't lower prescription drug costs for Americans, which is one that I find so fascinating. And I am very curious to speak to people about this one, where, we had secured the cost for even things like insulin, that the prices couldn't be jacked up. And I'm just curious to know how people will feel about this.
And more is
And
going to
how,
be coming soon. And the fact that people were using Martin Luther King Day and his words to denounce bringing the people and racial equity together is disgusting.
Mhm. And then it's also like there's a lot of these like succession things that I need to read up on, like the succession of the Department of Agriculture, Department of Homeland Security, all of these things. Those are the ones that I'm also very curious about because it's going to lay out some sort of path, I assume, to who succeeds whom.
I'm concerned, very concerned about trans
Um,
non-binary and transgender people cease to exist, and the people that are athletes um is so, I just don't know what people are saying. He's ending the recognition of transgender day of visibility. He is erasing people.
100%. Like completely just they're gone.
It's like 300% because he's, oh, this is what this says. The Trump administration will also seek to eliminate restrictions on so-called conversion therapy, a practice intended to persuade young trans people to reject their identity. A government entity telling a therapist that they can't speak the truth, that a boy is a boy, that sort of ban has no place in our country, is what it's saying.
I think
I
that like how like I guess this is the thing. It's like you literally are saying to millions of humans you don't exist anymore
That's right.
and you need to go into hiding. Like that's the part that scares me. I don't know, like I was thinking yesterday about like all of the politicians, because the next step in this, as we know, it's a playbook. It's not, this is not, hey, we don't know what's going to happen next. We absolutely know what's going to happen next. That every politician that spoke out against him, every politician that, said whatever they said about him, they're going to start disappearing, not just from office, but disappearing, period. And, I think it was the Martin Luther King Jr. Foundation or whomever was tweeting yesterday about like what to do. Um, and I think that's the part too that I'm like, we need our own playbook of what to do in response to this.
I
Um,
think it's what to do, but it's the what we did before, how to take care of yourselves. Because what we don't need to do is panic and put our head in the sand, create only our pods. Like, and Katee loves this. Like, I'm going to force us to be aware of what's going on, even
yeah,
if it, if for no other reason, just for safety, so we can take care of the people that we love and care about,
yep,
because it is very difficult um, when you are in these spaces to not feel like you're fully alone. I mean, it's think about this. The same time, there's somebody somewhere who was told that they have to go to work, that they're no longer recognized for their gender, that they can't use a bathroom that they feel safe in, that they're no longer allowed to play sports that they have, all at the same time. And they're dismantling everything we've worked so hard.
right. And that's I think the thing that's so fascinating is like, this so I'm gonna just say a couple of things that um there were some and I'm gonna have to find it now. There were some things that were suggested by the MLK, well, by Bernice King, first off, but then by the entire like MLK Foundation. And, it's basically you want to tune out the rhetoric, you want to tune out a lot of this stuff, but we absolutely need to embrace and pay attention what he is doing and read it, understand it, talk about it, raise it up, and also attribute it to not just him, but to the entire Republican group in power right now, because it isn't a one-man show. It is all of them are agreeing to this. All of them have brought this about. And this is no longer just a, hey, let's not buy from Amazon or let's not buy from,
Oh, I'm not going to use Facebook or whatever.
yeah, like cool. They're already millionaires. They're already, what they're focused on now is probably the German election and all of these other things, because it's not just about having this happen in the US, it's about let's make this a global. I mean, we saw, and everyone can contradict what Elno Musk did. I'm calling him Elno. I'm not calling him the other name.
Right.
He's Elno to me now. But what he did, it was a Nazi salute twice. And everyone can say that's not what it was.
No, it
Everyone
absolutely
can
was.
say it absolutely was. And I would love for him to go to Germany and do that and be arrested immediately and thrown in jail.
And the fact that the Defamation League was like basically did nothing, said nothing, tells you the level of fear. I
Uh-huh.
feel like I just cannot. I was just like that's what gets scary because it's like, what is happening? This is more than just. This is only the beginning.
No. And again, look at every um every playbook of how to lead a fascist regime. Ugh. And it's here. This is what we're doing. This is what we're doing right now.
And that's why,
So,
remember Brexit? People are not. We just saw it happening. We're seeing it happen in
yep,
Germany. We're seeing
absolutely.
these and these pushes, and
It's not going to stop.
I'll tell you
So,
one of the things that is, I think, really this morning. So this morning it was and I'm in Waco, and today is January 22nd. And me and Todd went for a run, and it was like 19 degrees. And
mhm.
he was and I don't need a reason not to run. I hate running on a good day with good sleep and good food. And
Yep.
I was like, we have to, like, we can't, and the reason that I say that is because for me, getting up, running, it's like my form of resistance and proving that I can do hard things. And you cannot hold me back from any of those things. And sometimes you have to do it and it doesn't feel good. And I feel stronger coming out of that, knowing that I was able to attack those things straight on.
Yeah.
Uh, and
But
that's what it is for me. But we do need to make sure that we're taking the basic care. I'm gonna say this, that you are eating right, you're taking your vitamin D, you're hydrating, and you're sleeping, because you will not be able to handle what's about to come around the corner. And if we think this is bad, this is what he's done quietly.
well, this is another one. So 100% I agree with you. And I think that's the piece that all of us need to remember is go for the run, go for the hike, go for whatever it might be, because we have to have those moments of peace. What I would also recommend is unplug when you're doing that. Someone asked me, like, oh, do you listen to podcasts? Like, what do you do when you're hiking? And I'm like, no, I'm listening for rattlesnakes mostly. Even in the dead of winter, I'm still listening for rattlesnakes just in case, because I'm that person. But that is where, and I think it's the same thing for you when you're running. Am I like, oh, well, I think you do too. Now you're saying that you don't like it, but I think you absolutely do like it because you get those endorphins, you get all the things from it and you feel good afterwards. And even during, you're feeling good about, I just did that. I just accomplished this, miles, whatever it might be. Um, and I think that's the pieces we have to be doing those things and taking care of ourselves. That's exactly right. Um, but I also think I'm hearing so many people saying, "Oh, I'm not listening to the news," or "I'm not paying it," like I'm trying not to pay attention to it. And I did need to do that this week just because of work stuff that I'm in Barcelona right now, and I'm delivering leadership training. I know, I'm ridiculous. I'm delivering leadership training to leaders across the globe. And just yesterday, I was with a bunch of leaders from Russia, And it was fascinating to hear, we didn't talk about it much, but we did touch on it a little bit. And I'm with some colleagues from the US, and I had one of them actually ask me, Katie, do you think we're going to be able to get back in the US? And I was like, and I kind of had pause. I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, I'm first generation. I'm a first generation person in this country, so I might. And I literally was like, oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know. I hope we don't have to think about that, but I also was like, never would have crossed my mind.
And that's
Um,
what you have to pay attention, because the things that you would suspect would never happen will happen and already has. Like
right.
with
I mean,
Rogan,
that was in
right?
his first, yeah, in his first term, I think we all said that, like, oh, he won't do that, or oh, he won't possibly go that far. He won't possibly do that thing.
He will do that
And
and
he did every
worse.
time, every time, every time.
I mean,
So,
the fact that you can like have a whole um like communist country that steals information from you, that you allow that for like $1 million or whatever.
yeah. Now let me be clear. Are you talking about TikTok? Jackie, I'm just going to say this. If anyone in the US thinks that China has not had every bit of information on all of us
Sure.
for a million years,
That's right. I
you're
mean,
silly.
and and no, I don't think people think that. I really don't think people think that. I really don't think people. But today he also said that Elno could purchase it. I was like, nobody's gonna sell anything. And watch, it'll happen because I said that. That's famous last words.
Absolutely it will. Absolutely it will. And that's the thing. It's like all of the things that we're like, no, 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 no. But I will tell you, it is very, I mean, I think everyone has heard me say this. I love traveling globally because I do think I get a very different perspective on a lot of the things happening in the US because of it. And it is just fascinating to hear the responses when you tell people, oh, hey, we're pulling out of the Paris Climate Agreement, or hey, we're withdrawing from the World Health Organization. People are like, wait, what? Like, huh? Because it's so stupid that you're like, this can't possibly be happening, but it absolutely is. So,
Wait, now to be fair, we
oh,
have to research, we do have to continue to research to see if the things are actually stupid, right? Like it might seem really stupid. And then it's like, before I just wipe everything and say everything is really stupid, can we talk about like I like looking
there.
at the education system,
Yes.
knowing that like it's built, it does not built for people to be successful, or else we would see millionaires like hanging from the trees. And like, does it need to be revamped? Yes. Does Trump need to be able to do it? Maybe not. But it's
Well,
what kind of things I don't want to, I want to make sure that we know exactly what we are talking about. If I say, oh, TikTok, it's not just because somebody, it could, because it comes from a communist country. Like these are the things that we're going against. These are the, it's not just
yes,
people
fair.
act like it's just a social media site like Twitter.
No,
It's not that.
no, agreed. But I also think like there's a couple, yes, 100% what you're saying, because I do agree that let's continue with TikTok. It was, oh, TikTok is going to get banned. Write your Congress people. And that was all over TikTok. So guess what people did? They did that. And they flooded. And so it was like you you are being manipulated, period.
Right.
And I think that's where people like they don't even realize they're being manipulated. And that's the part that also kind of freaks me out because I'm like, and I think you and I are both the same way that I actually get news from multiple sources. I still have a lot of people that I follow on different platforms because of the fact that I must say, like, how are they thinking about this? What are they saying? And why do they think this is great? And but then I also look at, I don't care who you are, what your beliefs are, anything along those lines. The humans that went into the Capitol and did broke into the Capitol, period. We're like, hey, go and protest. I don't care. But once you start hurting people that are defending the Capitol, once you start storming the Capitol, once you start saying you're going to murder people and running around the building acting like you need to find Nancy Pelosi, you need to find different people to hang, all of these different things. Like, it's like none of those people should be free, period. They should be rotting in a jail cell forever, in my mind.
Right.
You can say, oh, well, they just were, they had a belief, whatever. Okay, then let's flip that around, because everyone that has protested any type of racial inequality, if you speak to folks on the right, they're like, oh, they should all be in jail just for walking down a street with signs. And so I have a problem with oh, we can say that on one side it's okay, but on the other side it's not. When one is so much worse and violent and doing all these horrible things, and
Right.
those on the left are not. So, yes, we need to do our research. We need to read. We need to find multiple sources of information. And this isn't oh, you can go to this place and you're going to get the source of truth. No, you actually have to work for it. And you're going to have to work even harder for it as we continue this interesting situation we're in. I don't
Yeah.
know.
No, I think you're right. And I do think it's important that we just don't blanketly agree with every single thing. It's important to know what we're talking about. It's gotten so
Yes.
far out of hand that you can't just depend on, oh, I'm left leaning, or I'm a Democrat, or I'm a member of these groups, and to have
Yeah. Yeah.
what you believe in. And you need to know what's going on, because this stuff has been going on for a long time and it's a lot worse than you think.
Yes.
And some things are better than you think. You know, I'm
I would
not
like
trying
to
to
know what
play
they are.
devil's advocate because I don't play that.
I was just say, if you could give me the list of what is better, I would
I have no
like to
idea.
hear it.
But I'm sure or like I there are things that are going to be looked into that haven't been looked into for years that we should probably explore. That's what
Yeah.
I'm going to say. Instead of
No,
saying that good.
education, the education is the one that you just said a minute ago. However, I feel like the things that the direction they're going isn't, hey, let's revive this and make this better.
Yeah.
It feels like let's just break it, period,
Right.
with no actual solution or
Benefit people that are already privileged.
right. Well, and I mean, like, immigration is another great example where it's like, okay, but what's the solution? Like, we know that it's broken. No one is going to say immigration's great in the US. However, what is the plan is what I think all of us are asking. And it feels like it's more just let's just break it, end of sentence, with no, here's what's going to fix it moving forward.
I agree with you. And you can't have it both ways. Like,
No.
he feels, indoctrinated by God. Which one? The like sexist misogynist one? Like the American one? Like the one, like who are you referring to exactly? Because it's like you're making things, it's always spinning the narrative to
Yes.
make yourself look the best. And it's not looking for I just don't understand. I don't, there's nothing you can say. I don't care how many psychologists, how many books, how somebody can look you right in the face and try to act like this is a good person that's making good policies. I am sorry. I don't understand that there are literally that many people that can sit there and say, oh, yeah, not a problem, you know, and just not agree with the facts, literal facts.
Yes.
How do you not care about facts?
Because facts are hard.
Shut up.
I don't want to have to think. I just wanted someone to like tell me the things and then I just do them and I don't have to think at all. It's much easier this way.
What
Critical thinking is hard.
I just like we've just gotten so far gone. And what people don't know, especially because we have it just like everything that we've talked about all of these years are collapsing. The fact that we don't teach people about other cultures, other countries, encourage them to learn different languages and travel, like the fact the rest of the world doesn't act like this. Like the rest of the world doesn't work like this. There's certain places that do it. And let me tell you what, most of those are not democratic places that push to work so hard, that make you want to have a bigger house. Most people, they live modestly. They live within their means. They spend their money they like on like their families, entertainment, whatever it is, like something within the house, like not trying to just get as much money as possible. It's like you're trying to live a good life and be at peace and have the thing like, but people don't recognize like the whole rest of the world doesn't act like this. And
No.
the way we do it is not the best way. I don't, it's so it's so weird when you wake up to it.
I can't remember who I was it was just in the last 2 weeks, so it's while I have been traveling. And someone was talking about COVID and the response to COVID. And or no, it wasn't COVID. It was energy. And it was a guy from Poland, but he wasn't talking about Poland. I forget what country he was talking about, but it was the fact that their energy grid wasn't great. And so basically the government said you can only use X amount of energy per day. You can only, have your lights on for this amount of hours or whatever it might be, and everyone complied. And everyone said, yes, for the good of the group, we're going to follow these rules. And we're
Right.
going to do these things and we're going to, no, we're not going to use, and I'm now expounding, it wasn't just like it was, let's say water. Oh, we're only going to take a 10-minute shower every day or whatever. And so it was like this group, the entire country came together and said, yeah, we're going to follow these rules for the good of the country. And my response back was that would never happen in the US because everyone's like, oh, yeah, everyone else should do that, but not me. I should be able to have X, Y, and Z. And if you remember, like even in California, when they tried to do these drought resistance issue, like where they tried to conserve water, and it was, yeah, but I want a lawn, or oh, I want plants, or I want flowers, or I want whatever. And it was like the worst thing ever to ask people to conserve water. And that became a whole situation. So I don't know. I just, this is going to be interesting, Jackie.
That's one way of putting it.
Correct. But okay, what is one thing you want people to do right now or in the next day or two to make things better in their world and for themselves?
Oh my God. Um, read.
Read.
Not kidding. Like, just read what's going on. The people are giving you the answers to the test. You don't have to guess what's going to
Right.
happen. A lot of
Yeah.
this stuff, there's plenty that we can deal with right now. Just make yourself aware of what's going on and look at it through a lens as a researcher. Don't look at it like just try to gather as much information and figure out how it's going to impact you and your family without going like so far gone down the rabbit hole. Remember that you're in a rabbit hole and come back out and start making sure that you have the facts that you need to make good decisions.
I'm gonna agree with you and do a yes and if I may. Yes, read and also read the source of truth.
Yeah.
So go to whitehouse.gov if you want to actually read all these executive orders. Don't listen to a podcast or a TikToker or whomever. Go read the like to your point on maybe this is the right thing to do, or maybe this is the right step to take. Go read the executive order and what it actually says. Don't just make an assumption or go, hey, yeah, this is the worst thing ever. Find out if it is or not, or what the reasoning is behind this is why. we're going to ban this or step out of that or whatever it might be. So read and learn and figure it out. Don't just listen to whatever TikToker, talker, or podcaster you normally listen to. We actually have to do some work here.
And I'm going to
So,
go on a limb here and say if you're a woman or a member of the LGBTQ community, black or brown, or suffer from a disability, it's probably not in your favor. Just gonna say, you might want to start researching this. Oh, or a billionaire. You're probably not the first person they're trying to benefit on anything that's going to be happening. So
oh,
make it
billionaires are going to benefit for sure.
yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
And lastly, start to research where you might want to move to.
Yeah. Because it turns out we used to say Mars, but it turns out we're going to Mars. So
Mars is here. We're in Mars right now. My friend, I miss you. I will be back in the US this weekend. We can talk some more.
All right.
But listeners, thank you for listening. And we are back on track now that the election is over, and we will be bringing you as much information as we can. And yes, I just said don't listen to podcasters, but listen to us as we try to direct you to the right sources of information.
That's right.
We're going to have our opinions, but we also will try to direct you to all of the good sources of truth as much as we can.
And point you into some places where you can find peace and do a little self-care too.
Go hike. Go for a hike.
Go for a hike.
Go outside. All right. This is Katee Van Horn.
Yes, and this is Jackye Clayton. So bye.